Welcome to the Brown Girls Collective, where community isn't just a word, it's a practice. Here we gather to read, to listen, and to tell the stories that shape our culture. From book club conversations that challenge how we think and feel, to interviews that spotlight voices, building, healing, and leading in real time. This is a space for honest dialogue, shared wisdom, and collective growth. We believe in culture with context, conversations with purpose, and community that shows up. These are our stories, these are our conversation, and this is the Brown Girls Collective.
Hey family, welcome back to the Brown Girls Collective podcast, where we turn conversations into connections and connections into culture. From book club discussions to interviews to conversations in the street, we create a space for real dialogue that informs, empowers, and uplifts our community. If you're new here, my name is Sierra, and this month we're recognizing Sexual Assault Awareness Month with our theme, Her Body, Her Voice, Her Choice, a conversation centered on anatomy, healing, accountability, and education. Today we are joined by Dr. Vanessa Guyton, founder of Hush No More, an organization committed to breaking silence around sexual abuse through advocacy, surviving support, and community education. Through her work, she has helped transform pain into purpose by creating safe spaces where voices are heard and healing can begin. So family, help me welcome Dr. Vanessa Guyton. Hi. Hey, how are you today?
Hello, beautiful. I am wonderful. I'm here with you today.
I'm doing wonderful, beautiful, and thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to hear more about you and to learn more about you, and for our guests to get to be a little more educated about what you do. So before we go deeper, we would like to warm things up, brown girl style. So we're starting with rapid fire. So Dr. Vanessa, you got 30 seconds to answer these questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. One word that represents healing to you.
Peace.
What does feeling safe truly mean?
Honest with myself.
Okay. A message everyone deserves to hear.
That you have a right to tell it and heal.
And what gives you hope when conversations feels heavy?
God.
I like those answers. This month theme, Her Body, Her Voice, Her Choice, reminds us that awareness is not just about acknowledging harm, but understanding consent, respecting anatomy, and creating cultures where people feel safe to speak. One thing many people don't realize is that silence is often learned, but voice is reclaimed. Dr. Vanessa, when you hear her body, her voice, her choice, what does that mean through your work and your experience supporting survivors?
That means that a person have the right to not be touched, a right to share their story, a right to tell their truth, a right to be heard, seen, and believed.
You're absolutely right. And, for you to create that space is more than welcoming to not only for survivors, but just for people to know that they have that space. And family, we want to hear from you. What is one thing you believe people should better understand about consent or respect? We want to hear from you.
What's up, Brown Girls? It's your girl Jasmine out here in Soda City. We have some guys here that we're going to ask some questions to. This is for Her Body, Her Voice, Her Choice. So we're going to ask you guys some questions. Y'all okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to know your name, your age, and where you're from.
Anthony Garrett, AJ for short. I'm 23 years old from Clemson, South Carolina.
Okay. AJ?
Donovan Brown, go by Donnie. I'm 23 years old and I'm from Dillon, South Carolina.
Okay.
My name is Kendrick. Most people call me Kenny. I go to Clemson. I'm from Clemson, South Carolina. I'm 23 years old.
Okay.
I'm Jordan McFadden. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm 22 years old.
All right, so the first question I want to ask, what does feeling safe look like for a woman in today's world?
I just think a woman should be able to walk down the street without having to feel like in fear of her life. I know that probably won't be like in reality what's going to happen, but it should be like that. Even if it's just a guy just walking down the street in other ways, she shouldn't feel nervous that he might come do something, rob her, anything. she just feel free to walk down the street like us guys do. Just walk down the street normally. Maybe we might want to holler at a few women, but we shouldn't want to make them uncomfortable where they feel insecure or unsafe on the street just walking.
Absolutely. Okay, let's do this one. What does being a good man look like when it comes to respecting women's boundaries? And either one of y'all can answer that.
Okay. I'm about to say, we got all time in. All right, being a good man.
Come closer.
All right, so being a good man, right? We all was raised by women. We know one thing for sure: how to treat a lady, how to respect a lady, how to honor a lady. As a man, I was taught, and I'm sure everybody else behind me was taught, protect women, serve women. We shouldn't dictate women. We shouldn't try to rule over women. We cater to a woman's needs. Because how you treat a woman reflects how you treat your mother.
Okay. That is true.
Exactly.
That is true.
Yeah.
Always pay attention to how a man treats his mother, okay? Because he treats his mother bad, trust me. He ain't gonna do nothing good for you. Well, I do want to thank y'all so much for stopping and talking to us. Y'all gave us some great questions. Definitely pay attention to what these young men are saying. I'm so proud of you guys. I know it sounds like all of y'all are in college.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do well with that. I appreciate y'all. Black men. Y'all stay tuned, brown girls.
Part of awareness is also looking at what happened culturally. Right now, conversations about power, accountability, and protecting women are happening everywhere in the media. With cases like the Epstein and the conversation surrounding Diddy makes headlines, we wanted to ask the community a bigger question. So let's go to our man on the street.
So the city, preparing and gearing up for the month of April. Our theme is her body, her voice, and her truth. And we're here with, what's your name?
You said Elmore.
Huh?
Elmore.
Elmore?
Yeah.
That's your name?
That's my name.
Nice to meet you, Elmore. And what's yours?
John.
John. What's your name?
My name's Nate.
And how old are you?
I'm 24.
Renee.
And how old are you?
45.
All right, and what's your name?
Terrell.
And what's your age?
45.
Kelvin Davis.
All right, and this is your daughter?
Yes.
And what's your daughter's name?
Temperance Davis.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
And you mind, how old are you?
15.
All right, so we're just going to ask them a few questions pertaining to the climate today. So the first question we want to talk about is, and we're thinking about sexual assault here, when people ask, what was she wearing? Who do you think that question is really protecting, the guy or the female?
The female. Protecting her.
Protecting her?
Yeah.
It shifts responsibility away from the person that actually did the assaulting and asks the person, what did you do to cause it?
I mean, if you're trying to put it in the context of like somebody is wearing something that's attracting attention to her, yeah, I don't think what a woman wears has anything to do with.
I think it's meant to protect the perpetrator. It's protecting the men because it's making excuses for them and validating their actions based off of what a woman is wearing, even though that has nothing to do with anything.
So it's my job as a father to protect them in any way. So I can tell her, maybe you shouldn't wear this or that to this place, right? But that still doesn't make any excuse for any man to put their hands on her or to do anything, right? So I think the job has to do with parents teaching the boys.
I love that response. Thank you for that. And so with public conversations around figures like Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy bringing attention to allegations involving powerful men, do you think society is truly trying to protect women now, or are we just seeing power and control being challenged?
I think we're seeing power and control being challenged.
Yeah, I think America is kind of designed to allow rich and powerful people to get away with stuff that normal people couldn't get away with, And I do like to see that, especially in the Epstein thing, like the survivors are kind of out front, kind of, asking for their justice. And you see a lot of people getting behind them and trying to get justice for them. So, I think we're moving in the right direction.
My thing is that I don't even think we needed the Epstein files if we just believed the women in the first place. These are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of women coming out saying that they've been sexually assaulted or trafficked or all these things. We shouldn't even need the Epstein files if we just believe the women in the first place.
We're definitely seeing power and control being challenged. So society as a whole has a difficult time protecting women, especially women of color.
Power control.
And why do you say that?
Being challenged because you ain't taking no women.
And then the last question that we have, but growing up, Who actually taught you about consent, or did you mostly learn from friends, media, or personal experiences? And do you think men today are being taught better or worse than the generation before you?
Both of my parents. I have a father that's been in law enforcement for almost 40 years now, and he taught me about consent at the early age, especially when I started dating around the age of like 13. He basically told me that, no means no, and you gotta respect that.
I can speak only from my experiences with my parents and how they made a collective effort to teach me about my body and my choices. And even though we grew up in the church, we were also like the stop, don't touch me there, this is my no-no square, learning about your boundaries and whatnot. So I was taught from a very young age to understand my bodily autonomy and what I am able to give and get in return, you know what I'm saying? That feels weird to say.
My parents in school too. I feel like school, very early on they teach you no means no, but also my parents obviously.
And I want to thank you so much for answering our questions and being vulnerable with us here today. Again, this is the Brown Girls Collective, and if you're not following us, make sure you are. And again, our April theme is Her Body, Her Voice, and Her Truth, as we talk about or bring awareness to Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Ooh, that was a lot, Dr. Vanessa. And I do just have to ask you your personal opinion. Do you think society is protecting women more now, or is it more like a powerful play, you think?
I don't always think that society protects women. I think society want to believe that they protect women, but with the conversations, how they respond, with the laws, the justice system, no, I do not think that women are always protected. I think they're protected actually a lot less than what they should be.
I agree. And then just to hear those different opinions, hearing the younger generation's opinion and the older men, their opinion, what was your view and thoughts about that?
I am glad that the younger generation is getting it. That the training that we're doing, reaching out and having conversations, that is making a difference. You could definitely see the age difference in the responses. And I thought that was very intriguing, but that just means that we're doing a lot of work.
Right, right. And we're moving forward, and it's not like we're staying stagnant of what was taught back in the days. Now people, like you're saying, we're getting it. And I appreciate those. Those were honest perspectives from the community, and conversations like this shows how people are still trying to understand where protection and accountability meets. And Dr. Vanessa, do you think publicly cases changes how seriously people take survivors?
I do. I think it's important that the public see it in the news, we see it in the media, we see it on social media, because then people really understand that it's a problem and it's not something that people are making up, which people do believe that is fake. So I think it's important that it's seen, heard, because it makes us talk about a serious topic and not just hide behind the topic.
Absolutely. Just one more question that I'm just kind of want to hear your opinion. How can everyday people support survivors?
Well, I use the acronym GIVE, and I'll break it down for you. G stands for be gentle with them. When somebody tells you that they've been in a sexual assault or sexual harassment, even domestic violence, be gentle with them, because they chose you out of all people to have this conversation with, right? And even if they didn't choose you, you know about it. So be gentle with them. Be interested in what they have to say. Be interested in their perspective, because that is important. Not looking at your watch, looking at your cell phone, but being interested in what's going on. V, validate how people feel. You may not believe them, but it doesn't matter if you believe them or not. They're sharing their truth with you. So validate that this is a very bad time for them, that they're going through a lot, that they're struggling, that they're unhappy. All the emotions are occurring. That is important, that you validate how they feel. And then E is my favorite. That is empower, encourage, elevate. Everything that you say should be something positive, should make them feel better than they did before they came in contact with you. That is important as a society. If we use GIVE, we could change the world, because there are more people that come forward, more people that say that I want to report this. They will go to law enforcement. They think that our communities are supporting them. So G, be gentle. I, interested. V, validate. E, encourage, empower, elevate when you share any conversation with them.
I love that. And I'm going to take heed to that because, you just never know who you're encountering. And then we tend not to validate their feelings. And so I do really do appreciate you for breaking that down for us. And that's why awareness can only exist when stories trend. It has to exist in everyday relationship conversations and community accountability. Now, we're going to learn a little bit more about you, Dr. Vanessa. What inspired the creation of Hush No More, and when did you realize this work was bigger than your personal story?
I am a survivor of military sexual trauma that had forgot all about the sexual assault. People don't believe it, but it really does happen. My brain just decided to suppress it. And when I came through it, through all the memories, I was triggered. And I remember that it happened. I realized the reason it was so bad is because I made a conscious decision not to tell anyone, not to report it for various reasons. And so when I got to a point of healing, I said, now it's time for me to help other people because I don't want people to have to go through what I go through. So that's how I knew that it was time to do Hush No More. And God was like, it's time. The doors open. And I was able to just share my story and the stories of others through that process.
Wow, that's amazing. What is the biggest misconception people still have about consent today?
I think it's that you can consent when you're drunk or using drugs when a person is asleep. They cannot consent. And I believe that people believe that just because somebody is drunk and they say yes or they go along with it, that that's considered consent, and it's not.
Do you mind explaining a little bit more in depth with that? I do know personally, like I work for the a legal world, so there's a lot of cases that come in that's criminal sexual conduct, and their story is, oh, I was out drinking, she was drinking. So can you go a little bit more into that for us?
So when a person is drunk, when they're asleep, when they're on drugs, they do not have the ability mentally to be able to consent. So you will hear a lot of cases where alcohol was involved, but that person can't say that they considered. They don't even remember what happened that night. And so I think it's important for both parties, for everybody involved, to really pay attention to drug use, alcohol use when it comes to sex, right? Can a person wake up the next day and say, I did not remember, and then they could file a charge against somebody? Yes, they can, right? And you just don't know. And so I always say, be careful when drugs and alcohol are involved. It varies by state, but to be careful and to protect both parties, don't have sex when that is involved. Wait until you're both sober, you're clean. Wait until a person completely wakes up before trying to have sex with them, because that person can say that they did not consent or even remembering consenting.
And do you mind, since we're kind of on that topic, to discuss more so like sexual assault in the marriage?
So when we're looking at consent between a husband and a wife, or even same sex, right? You do not have to have sex with anyone that you do not want to have sex with. Just because you're married does not mean that you are property or that that person owns you. You must look at the laws within your state because every state is different of how they categorize it. But consent must be obtained by both people, whether they're married or not, and is illegal to force your spouse to have sex. As it relates to consent, a lot of times people do not realize that alcohol, drugs is a hard time to look at consent. It's not one of those easy things. If you are using any type of substance, if you are asleep, you cannot consent. Even if you do consent, you may not even remember the consent. So I always say that people should pay attention to consent during sex when any type of drug, alcohol, or sleep is involved, because that person really can't consent. And there is a chance that that person will wake up the next day and say, I feel like I've had sex. I feel like something has happened to me. I don't remember last night. And they can file a report, and they have the right to do so. So you want to make sure that a consent is a verbal no, but also a consent looks like a non-consent looks like pushing you off, pushing you away, saying I don't want to. It's not always no. It's not always clear, right? You want to make sure that you give a clear no, but sometimes it's not always clear. If that person is pushing you away, right? if that person is turning their head from you, is that person is preventing you from pulling their pants down, that is them saying no, and it's not always verbal.
And thank you for explaining that and going a little bit more in depth because I think society has, misconstrued the no. They want to hear it, but like you
Hear
just
no.
said, there's there's more than just hearing the word no. There's signs of saying no. So with that, how are younger people indirectly taught harmful ideals about boundaries, and how do we begin shifting that narrative?
One thing is that I don't think young people are always taught. So that is a problem where we don't have the conversation. That is a big problem, right? And then they often hear the word boundaries, but what does boundaries really look like? What is boundaries, right? What is that word? It's a magic word, right? Boundaries is your way of saying this is my left and my right of what I will and will not do, right? Period. It's what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And I don't have to do nothing that I do not want to do when it comes to sexual assault, dating, relationships. Another boundary I see quite often with young people is cell phones, where someone is taking their cell phone, someone is taking all of their passwords, inserting power and control. And they don't have to do that. That is something new that's in our society. The videos, taking pictures of yourself, sending videos of yourself. Those are things that are different now that really wasn't in my generation that they really have to pay attention to. So knowing what you want to do and what you don't want to do in all circumstances really help. And I think that's something that we really have to pay attention to with young people because the internet is added into sexual assault now, and what they see on TV and what they see in movies and having access to the World Wide Web. So those are things that I think we don't really pay attention to, and that puts our young people at a higher risk than what my generation was.
And just kind of expound a little bit more on that. What do you think we can do as a community to help the younger generation to become more aware and more alert of those things? Because they think that, just taking a video or sending this is harmless, but then once it gets on social media, oh, now, you know, I'm calling mom, calling dad, we need to file a report. Tell us what you think we can do as a community to help the younger generation.
One thing I see all the time is that parents cover up things they don't want their children to know, not realizing that their children probably know a little bit more than them, the truth be told. And so parents tend to tiptoe around the conversation instead of having direct conversations. Because first, I feel like it's in the home first. That's where it starts, in the home. Having open conversations with your children at a very young age. Even when they're in diapers, I always say, this is a safe space. Only mommy and daddy could touch you here. Nobody could touch you here. Allowing your children to have boundary conversations with you. What does it look like when we go to our family house and we're over grandma's house and the aunts are there and the uncles are there and I don't want to sit in their lap or I don't want them to kiss me or hug me? Giving them the opportunity to say yes or no with their body very early on. Those are important lessons that our children need to learn. And also, when you see something and hear something about a case, talk to your children about it. Ask them, have they heard about it? If something going on at their school, if there was a sexual assault at their school, talk about it. Don't act like it didn't happen or say things like, if this ever happened to you, you better tell me and threaten your kids or threaten that you'll kill the person if something ever happens to them. Making sure that you have really good, healthy conversations. If something happens to you, I'm going to make sure that I'll go and talk to the police. We're investigating. I'll believe you. Having those conversations with your kids. And then as a community, having conversations at school. Some schools don't even talk about it. They don't even talk about what sexual assault, what it is, what sexual harassment. They cover it up. It is important that we talk about it in our community, that when there are community events, that you take your children there so that they can find out information, that you're informed. When there's something about human trafficking out, you need to be paying attention and learning about human trafficking so that we can see the signs of it. But oftentimes, we act like it's not happening, and then we don't share that information.
And thank you for just expounding a little bit more on that. For survivors watching, what does healing realistically looks like beyond disclosure?
Healing looks like being honest with yourself about what's going on what triggers you're experiencing, what actually happened to you, where do you see yourself in the future. That's first, just being honest, right? And then doing something about it, going to learn about what is trauma, how can you heal it, learning about meditation, learning about how to take your power back, learning about your brain and how trauma affects your brain, doing things that you want to do, creating safe spaces for yourself. What does it look like now when you go out by yourself? Can you go out by yourself? And challenging yourself to lead a life that becomes a new normal, because you'll never be the same, but creating a new life for you that you could take your power back and start living again, start dating again, start loving again, start getting out of the house and fighting depression again. That to me is what healing looks like. Being true. This happened, and this where I am today.
And I'm sorry, just to kind of another follow up with that one. Realistically, just with you being in your journey, how long do you think the healing process takes for most survivors?
I will tell you that I don't think that healing takes forever. You will hear people say that they're on a journey. I think when you say that, that prevents you from healing because you can't hold yourself accountable in this time period, right? You put things off until the future. I think it's different for everybody. I think that you can get to a place to say, I have conquered this trauma. Every day there's something that'll come up, right? And so I feel like every day you look at your life and say, hey, I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to allow this to hold me back. But it's up to the individual. If you want to live a better life, you make the decisions to live a better life. If you are struggling and you can't get out of bed and you stay in bed, it's going to take you longer to heal because you're not doing the work. It takes work. So when you put in the work, healing occurs faster.
Thank you for expounding on that. And what can like friends, families, and communities do better when someone shares their story?
They can love on them. I love you. Do you need anything? How can I help you? Not judge them, not make them feel worse than what they already do. Not saying things like, well, if I was you, I'll do this, I will do that. Not saying nothing, but how can I help you? What do you need from me? How can I love you? How can I let you know how much I love you? And how can I be there for you? That's what we do as a community. That's what we do as a family.
Right. And last but not least, what gives you hope about where these conversations are headed culturally?
What give me hope are advocates. I train a lot of advocates. There are a lot of nonprofits in our community that are doing the work, that's speaking up. There's a lot of survivors that's coming forward and sharing their story. And so that gives me hope that things are going to change. You will see things like the Epstein files being released. That gives me hope, right? That we're going to talk about it at a higher level. I do believe that we can combat sexual assault, but I think it just takes us all coming together and holding individuals accountable. That gives me hope.
And Dr. Vanessa, I want to use this opportunity right now to just to kind of you expound a little bit more about your business and what all you do.
Okay. So I am the founder and proud executive director of Hush No More. We support survivors of sexual assault, military sexual trauma, domestic violence, human trafficking, child sexual abuse, all of that crap that we don't really talk about as a community, but it's hurting us. Yes. We are on all social media platforms. Our website is hushnomore.org. And you can also contact us at 1-888-285-2161. We have amazing events that focus on healing. We're in the process of building a safe haven to create more safe spaces for individuals to heal. That's what it's about. Prevention and healing goes together. I also have a business called Consulting Experts and Associates, where I train victim advocates on the hush topics as well. And you can find us at Consulting EXP, and it's 1-888-285. No. Our number is 1-888-300-7939. You can find us for training because it's important as well.
Dr. Vanessa, I truly want to thank you for trusting us with this conversation and helping us understand how awareness becomes healing and healing becomes change.
You are welcome. Thank you. It was an honor to join you. Anytime we're talking about sexual assault, I get excited because we need more podcasts, more interviews to talk about the difficult conversations.
Thank you. And if you or someone you know needs support, resources connect to Hush No More and National Support Service are listed in the description below. Make sure you follow Brown Girls Collective, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stay connected for more community, cultural, and conversations. Engage with this episode by commenting and sharing to help this message reach someone who may need it. To everyone watching, awareness brings with listening, and believing. Let this month be more than conversation. Let it be action. See you next time, Brown Girls.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. And definitely visit browngirlscollective.org or Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Can't wait to see you next time.